in addition to travelling around, you've also done media appearances, as you've alluded to. I believe Sunrise, Current Affair, ABC Q&A, Sky News, and you're also on the YouTube channel of the Centre for Independent Studies, I believe. It's probably more that I'm missing, but yeah, how is that like experience as a teenager being interviewed alongside like a panel of other adults, for example, in Q&A on the national stage?
Look, I'm more comfortable now because I've got some experience now with that kind of stuff.
Did you do like debating or public speaking before?
Yeah, I did debating in school and public speaking and stuff. But look, I've got, you just have to learn. I guess I had to sort of learn myself. And fortunately, when I started doing this media stuff, I already knew enough about nuclear energy where, well, I never have pretended. I'm not an expert, and I don't want anyone to ever think that. Because
we'll change what I said at the start.
It's
not an expert, an advocate, a very passionate, a knowledgeable advocate.
But I think it's helpful having at least some information about nuclear energy, and that I've obviously done lots of interviews now at this stage. There's probably a bit of an exclusive, probably not a very flattering exclusive for me, but there's been occasions where I'll forget about like a radio interview and I'll, get the call as like my alarm to wake up. Unfortunately, I've got like an ad break to get into it.
Well, if it's radio, you don't have to dress up.
No.
You can just do it in your pajamas, I guess.
I much prefer radio interviews.
I'm glad you didn't come in your pajamas.
Yeah, no, I don't have to iron my shirt or anything. But maybe. But no, it's an interesting experience, and obviously it allows you to reach a lot more people, which I think obviously is a good thing because I'm trying to promote our petition, and obviously I plug it every time I'm on the media, so that's a great thing. But obviously there's also drawbacks, and say in a situation like Q&A, obviously there's nerve-wracking when I was thinking that, I'd been advocating for nuclear at that point for, a couple of months or so. And I was about to have to basically take the case to our energy minister on live national TV in front of a live studio crowd. And that was incredibly nerve-wracking for me. But I think it went well in the end. The thing that's interesting, and I think the thing that, would be helpful for other people that would considering doing what I do, because obviously there are a huge amount of benefits from what I do. I'm not paid, but certainly, getting to visit nuclear plants and stuff, whilst I'm recording it all for social media content, I love it because I'm absolutely obsessed with nuclear. But, there are drawbacks, and say after Q&A, my name wasn't trending on Twitter, but the second most trending thing was Greta Thunberg's name, and Greta hadn't done anything interesting that day. I think the third most... Was it the third most... I think the first most trending thing in Australia was Q&A. And when I looked through, didn't look through it too much, but when I looked through most of it, it was about me. A lot of it highly, highly abusive and stuff, making fun of my appearance, saying that I had a long neck and whatever, and I probably do, but, that I had ADHD, they would like zoom up on me and get, most unflattering angle, and huge torrent of abuse. There was then journalists who, contacting us the next day. There was people, who I think were trying to do anything they could to find dirt on me, try and
How old were you at that stage, 16?
I was 17. It was pretty bad. It got to, the point where it was actually some time later, which I learnt through that process, there'd been, death threat publicly posted and whatever.
Over nuclear energy.
Yeah, it's like this 17-year-old kid talking about nuclear, and obviously that's all been sorted out. But, I think that was really difficult for me, and I'm probably the first person to say that, and people around me would know that it was difficult, but I think it's probably helpful for people to hear that, not the people who say that or whatever, because they wouldn't care, but, if someone was considering going into this thing, I obviously I expected pushback, but I didn't expect this level of abuse and whatever, and it's something that everyone should be prepared for when they do something like this, especially on a really emotional and polarizing issue like nuclear energy. But I think obviously I still get that. I still get that every single day. But I think over time, you'd hope you don't get conditioned to it, but you find ways to deal with it, and I've now got plenty of things to distract myself.
Yeah, well,
as well.
I'm sorry to hear that, but
No,
it
all
seems
good.
that you have grown a bit of a thicker skin than a lot of people.
And that's in no way as a result of the radiation poisoning.
Good to clarify that.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you think it's just, I don't know, paranoia of nuclear accidents and that sort of thing driving people to be that passionate on the subject, or you just think there's crazies out there who happen to have views that are different to yours?
Oh, look, broadly, I'd say that, the worst thing that's happened is how the nuclear debate's become politicised. And a lot of the comments being made about me were made through a political lens, people assuming that I was associated with the Liberal Party, that I was a young Liberal. All these things are just not true.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, do you want to address
Like,
that?
I'm not, yeah, and this was part of the reason I like doing these kind of things.
Yeah.
I've said the exact same thing in, in House committees and stuff, where I'm basically, would probably get in a lot of trouble if I lied.
Yeah,
but,
true.
I've never been involved in any political party. I'm not a young Liberal. I'm not a young Labor member. I've probably got more young Labor friends, to be honest. I'm not a young
I find that
Greens.
as well. It's sort of just, more young Labor people, I guess,
Yeah.
our age than young Liberal, that I found at least. But yeah.
And I wouldn't ever want to be in those groups, because from my perspective, I really like the fact that I'm able to focus on an issue like nuclear, get, not center my whole life around it, but, learn lots about a particular topic and be really passionate about it. But I wouldn't want then, I feel I like that I now have a really firm position on nuclear energy, and that's one that I've been able to come to independently. But if you were to ask me about, what the tax rate should be or whatever, I'd have absolutely no idea, and I wouldn't want to be asked about it. And to be honest, I'd like to learn a lot more about those things. So, I hope that makes some sense. But I'm not associated with any political party. I don't want to be. The leadership of Nuclear for Australia isn't involved in any political party. We are non-partisan. It's ingrained in our constitution. And I think
okay.
we made a point of making that in our constitution. And, technically, our board could hold me accountable for that.